Usually somebody tells me before this. I bet there's a text message there telling me that. No. Right, okay, so managing a web server. Two learning outcomes. Outcome 1, a report containing 500 words, so roughly about a page. Or if time you put headings and spacing and that kind of format, and it'll probably about 2 pages, or a page and a half at the very least. Required to do research to find out various types of web server software, etc. And that's what we're going to go through in all of the PowerPoints that we're going to talk about. So there are 7 PowerPoints, I think 7 lessons. 7 lessons in total, yeah. This one doesn't count as a lesson. So the content for learning outcome 1, items included in the report will be 3 types of web server software. So we're going to look at 2 of those in detail, not really detail, just mention 2 of those and give you a little bit of detail about them. And you'll find a third one for yourself, and that's what the exercise at the end is all about. We'll look at the web server directory structure discussed and defined. So in the scenario, you're given a scenario, and it's a company that want 3 websites all running on the same web server. So you will lay out the directory structure for that. So you could put everything in a root folder, but you wouldn't do that because you want it to be organized. So as it's easy to recognize where things are stored and where things are held, so that somebody looking at it at a glance, they can easily understand what's actually going on within the, where to find things within the directory structure. So there's that. Plus, when you install the web server for the first time, there's a certain set of directories that are created, so you probably want to mention that as well. Choose an appropriate operating system. So you've got 2 choices, really, haven't you? When it comes to web servers, Windows and Linux, or Windows and Unix. So you're going to choose Windows, right? Windows. If you want, do it the other way around if you like. It's up to you. I've not had any students that have done Linux yet. Web server specification. So what kind of CPU? We'll look at CPU, RAM, hard disk drive, and connection speed. So this is the hardware specifications for your web server. So you're going to suggest or recommend, how fast your processor should be, how much RAM you need, that kind of thing. Easy stuff. Web server features, so the things that the web server actually does. So you'll discuss those as well. I think the scenario says the manager of the company wants to know what a web server can do. So things like preventing too many connections per second that would cause the web server to fall over, being able to remotely access it through the web interface, that kind of thing. So just features that are provided by the web server, maybe different technologies that the web server can run as well. So you'll mention a wee bit about that. The configuration options. So that's things like setting up log files and that kind of thing, so that you can determine if anybody's trying to hack the system or whatever it might be. You can look at logs to see who's accessing it, when they access it. I guess you could use that for market research as well, to see what time people are accessing the system and what sort of numbers have been accessing the system, that kind of thing. And that will maybe help you further down the line once you examine those values as to what you could put on the website. Administration management options. So you've got 2 there, local and remote. So you'll suggest, I think it's 3 things you suggest. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but we'll do that near the time, obviously. So you can locally administer the website by just sitting there on the server, or you can do it remotely. So we're going to look at different ways of doing it remotely. So there's different softwares available for doing that. There's Microsoft's remote desktop does it, and there's also a remote web interface that does it, that comes with the web server as well. So you just put in the website, and then you put a certain port number that you run it on a different port. So it loads as a website, a web interface, and then you can configure the site for there. So you'll be provided with a blank report with suitable headings. So that was the thing that I just deleted. So I'll have to replace that at some point. Okay. Outcome 2, practical tasks. Installing a web server. So you're going to use a virtual PC for this. So if you've got the project server, you can just add the role, right? Now, even if you've got Windows 10 Professional running on your laptop or your own desktop, you can actually install the web server software on that, and that will still work as well. So there's a number of different options available to you, and then you can just delete it when you're done. So you'll configure the web server. So you'll give it a web address, obviously, a port number, which is going to be port 80, obviously. You set up all the directories, error reporting, so that's like logs. And then the server root directory as well will be installed. The server root directory is created when you install the server software for the first time. It's called the www root folder. And all your 3 websites, you'll be creating 3 websites. So in there like this, and website 1, website 2, and website 3. So you put the files in there. So inside each one of those will be your directory structures, and that's what you'll discuss in the report. Brilliant diagram. And you'll also set up appropriate directory permission. So I think what that means is one of the directories has to be secure, so that you have to log in to access it or something, can't quite remember. And also other things about directory security, you set up a thing called a robots.txt file, which means that any web robots, like search programs looking for stuff, you can stop them from looking in certain folders and force those robots to look in only the folders that you specify. Configure multiple web server user domains. So you'll set up 3 domains. You set up all the DNS settings for the domain so that you can access them with not only the IP address, but also the web address that you decide. So let's say you create a domain called myserver.com. So you'll create the website. You're not going to create any websites, by the way, sorry about that. You'll create the web structure. I'll give you an index file to use. You can put that in there, and then you'll be able to open your browser and type in myserver.com, and it'll run, because it'll use the DNS to load. It'll go and find the IP address on the DNS server, and then it'll load it. It sounds difficult, but it's really quite straightforward. Create a backup of your web server. I mean, that's straightforward, easy, isn't it? Just doing a backup. And managing the web server, various management tasks. Again, that's like setting up the log files and that kind of thing to run at certain times to capture certain amounts of information. Does anyone have any questions about any of that so far? You don't need to build a website, remember. You're not doing websites. You're doing a web server. You're setting up the idea of this is that you're setting up a web server so that the web designers can come in and have a place to put the websites, So you're doing the back end stuff. They're doing the fancy stuff. If you want to go and create websites, don't let me stop you, Don't let me stop you. So that's the first thing. Okay, moving on then to the next bit. Gosh, we're going to be finished really early. What do I want to do here? Close that, yeah. Close that. And then on the next one. So this is the first proper lesson. How slow is that look? Take your time. There we go. 100 megabit per second connection speed, and it takes that long to open up a text file. Believable. Okay, managing a web server. So we're going to look at the server, the internet, and web servers as well. So that's the 3 things we're going to look at. So it's a bit of background information for you. What is a server? Well, if you don't know what a server is by this point, you're on the wrong course. So generally more powerful than regular machines. A server is just a computer system, right? But generally it's more powerful than regular machines. And the reason for that is because it's handling multiple requests by multiple people. So it could be handling hundreds, thousands, millions of requests per hour. So and also a server is a machine that provides a service, hence the term server, right? And the characteristics, a server's not so much because it's a big PC with lots of RAM and multiple CPUs. You can have a normal desktop with all that in it as well. But the thing that makes a server really is the operating system. It's characterized by the OS. It's the operating system that allows it to provide services. Okay. The machines requesting these services are called clients. So it's the old traditional client server network. There's a switch. There's a server. Here are the clients. And there's a server, generally much more bulkier than the other computers in terms of the resources that it carries, and it provides services to these clients, right? So you already know all that stuff. Internet servers that host web-based content are called web servers because they're providing a service, and it is the service they're providing as a website. Okay, so what is the internet? So people think the internet is Google, and they think the internet is YouTube and Facebook. That's not the internet. These are the services provided by means of the internet. The internet itself is actually the physical public media infrastructure. What that means is all the cables, all the routers, all the switch boxes, all that physical stuff that lays the infrastructure. That's the internet. It's a bit like, if I was to give you an example of the same thing in sort of normal world, is like the roads, rail, and air. So we're things that are allowed to travel on. That's the public infrastructure. So if you want to get from here to Edinburgh, you'll go on the road, or you can get a train, right, when you're allowed. So it's the same idea with the internet. The internet is the physical cables and stuff that allows data to travel, not the services provided by the internet. Users connect to the internet in various different ways, as you can see for that wee diagram there. You can connect from a company LAN. So like the college, for example, uses what's called the JANET network, which is a joint academic network. And that would be the ISP. So they would sit somewhere here, with a network there. So they'll connect to the JANET network, and then that connects to the internet itself. Home users, again, home users. You can tell how long ago I did these diagrams. Look, a modem. That would be a router now, probably. And again, you need the services of an ISP in order to do that. So you connect to the ISP. So the ISP is kind of like the middleman. And web servers are which compose the www, or the World Wide Web. So if you buy something off the internet, you never bought it off the internet, you bought it off the web. Okay, so the web servers, just like your home user, like company LAN, just connect to this public media infrastructure. They connect to the road system, if you will, and they advertise their services so that people can drive their packets into the web server, buy stuff, and then drive back home again, right? Now this is a wee bit out of date, as you can see here. Sorry. No. This was internet traffic by 2019. So we're in 2021. So this is 2 years out of date. So if you look at the eye-watering sums that you're going to see here, the numbers, then you can see, probably imagine how much bigger it is today than it was in 2019. So 80% of global internet consumption will be video content by 2019. So all of the traffic traveling over the internet, 80% of that's going to just be video. So you can imagine, it's just astronomical amounts of data. So in other words, it takes an individual over 5 million years to watch the amount of video that will cross a global IP network every single month. So this amount of video, just to give you an idea how big that is if you were to sit and take 1 month's content and you were to watch all of that, it would take you 5 million years just to watch that. I don't know who worked that out, but somebody did. So that's a staggering amount of data that's traveling over the internet. Global IP traffic to reach 2 zettabytes or 100 trillion gigabytes. I guess that means per year. Okay, so that all over the internet, that's just 2 trillion gigabytes, and that's 2 years ago. Traffic from wireless and mobile devices will rise to 66%, so that's probably up as well now. Maybe not by much, I wouldn't imagine. So you're probably looking at maybe 70% of all traffic on the internet is wireless and mobile devices. So wireless laptops, phones, and tablets, that kind of thing, people in coffee shops and people on the go, that sort of thing. Every second, nearly 1 million minutes of video content will cross IP networks. Why does it get I.P. That's not right. Every second, so count up to 5, and 5 million minutes of video content has just traversed the network. Unbelievable. Internet video TV grew 47% in 2017. So whatever amount of video content has been used, take a half of that and add it back on again, and that's just 2014. This will increase fourfold, so 4 times that amount again by 2019, and probably another double that again by 2021. And especially during the lockdown, when you have services like Netflix, what's the other ones, Prime, Sky, all these kind of things that's available for video on demand, that would have went through the roof because people couldn't do anything else but watch the telly. So consumer video on demand traffic will nearly double to the equivalent of 7 billion DVDs per month. Imagine that, 7 billion DVDs per month people are downloading. That's incredible. So the web server, so how does all of that stuff run? Now that stuff is all traverses the public infrastructure, right? Goes over fiber optic links, goes through high-speed cables, through high-speed router links and stuff like that. It travels from the place where you got it from to your TV or to your laptop or whatever. But where is it hosted? Where does it live? On web servers. These are the machines that host all that stuff. So you can begin to imagine the amount of storage space required, the amount of resources required in terms of CPU speed, RAM speed, hard drive space, all that kind of stuff. It needs to be astronomical. So firstly, the web server is a machine that serves up web pages or content to requests made by internet clients. So your internet clients are desktop PCs, laptops or notebooks, whatever you call them, mobile devices, tablets and smartphones, as I mentioned, games consoles even. People watch video content in games consoles as well as playing games, and TVs as well. So especially these days, you've got smart TVs that plug directly into your router or directly into the internet, and then you can access all that content directly to your TV without having to get it through a box and then put it on the box, and then or download it or watch it on your phone and then cast it to the screen. A lot of people like to do that, but you can directly connect your TV to the internet and it becomes an internet client, and you can download all this stuff and watch it. And all that stuff, all those videos, all that sport and content is all living on web servers. So web servers will run on a server platform. There are two dominant types. First of all is a Windows server, which is the one we're most familiar with. And the other one is the Linux or Unix server, which is, I think you've probably done a wee bit of that with Alan already. I used to get to teach that, but for some reason they just took it away. Swines. So the web originated with Unix servers. Therefore, they're the dominant force. At one point, this may have changed, but it was 70% were Linux servers and 30% were Windows servers. Okay. So Windows servers, you can see, have taken quite a large portion of the internet server. That's a sizable chunk, considering at one point it was all Unix and Linux, 100%, especially when Linux is free and Windows server will cost you about $1,000, you know, just a starting price. To think that they grabbed 30% of that's incredible. Unix, first of all, it's the most established and efficient server platform and enjoys widespread use, as I says already, 70%. Okay, most web servers, so email servers, FTP servers, web servers, all that kind of stuff is all running on Linux boxes or Unix boxes. Unix derivatives are more efficient than other server platforms and can run on modestly spec machines. So you can have an old computer with maybe not a lot of RAM and not a very fast CPU in it, and it will make a better job of running the web servers than a Windows system would, because it just makes more efficient use of storing information, processing information, and you know, the resources are generally quicker than what they are in Windows. It's much less complex, I think. I don't really know. The trouble, maybe not for some people, but certainly for me, there's so many differing standards when it comes to Linux. So what do you use? Do you use Debian? Do you use Red Hat? Is it Red Hat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10? Ubuntu, Mint, and various others. There's all sorts of them, and there's more and more coming on stream all the time. And then there's all the different versions within those versions as well, which makes things even more complicated. And the reason for that is because Linux is open source, so you can grab download a copy of open source Linux for yourself, and you can modify it if you were that way inclined. You know, you can modify it and customize it to your needs, and then you can, I don't know, you could share it, and then you'd have your own version. And the problem that for me anyway, and for others, is that the way you install things, the way you configure things, the different applications that run on the different versions of Linux, it's just mind-blowingly complex. You know, so it's different from, it's very, very similar, obviously, but there's slight differences between all the different variations of Linux. So that makes it a bit confusing and makes it a bit more difficult and less accessible. So in that sense, it generally requires the presence of a Unix administrator, somebody who really knows what they're doing, and those guys won't come cheap. Next one is a Windows server. These are NT-based servers automatically, and NT just means new technology, I believe, depending on what you read. So, yeah, so I think NT came on stream about, when would that be? 35 years ago. Yeah, about 35 years ago, Windows NT made its appearance on the market. Okay. And what it does is it automatically detects new hardware. I think Linux systems all do that now as well, but they didn't for a while. But you just plug something in and Windows installs it right away. It's dead easy. Supported by almost all hardware vendors, so you can plug anything in there and it will work, and Windows will support it, whereas Linux won't. Usability, second to none, because it runs on a graphical user interface. Yeah, that's true. So the Linux systems now running graphical user interfaces. And then the other thing, which I told you before in the server class, is that yes, it runs on a graphical user interface, but this is very resource intensive. And if my friend in the States is to be believed, this is going to be going bye-byes with servers, and they're just going to run server core. So there won't be any graphical stuff. It'll all be done. You'll configure the servers using PowerShell and stuff like that, or command line, because it runs much quicker. When you install things, it's all wizards. You know, so you plug it in, you just follow the instructions, and you point, click, click, and that's the thing installed. Incorporates other platforms into network with ease. So if you've got a Windows-centric organization, it's all Windows servers and clients. But let's say you wanted to run a Linux web server, you could do that. You can put it into the Windows network, and Windows network will allow it to integrate without much problem at all. You can even set up Linux print servers on a Windows network as well, things like that. So yeah, no problem. Other way around, I'm not so sure. Drawbacks to Windows, well, I've already mentioned it's very resource hungry. You know, it doesn't make as efficient use of CPU cycles and RAM and storage as Linux does, although it has improved, but still not to the efficiency of Linux. Costly, as I mentioned before, if you buy a web server, it costs you about £1,000 for the software. So it's not cheap, not cheap. So web services is not a function of the operating system. So you don't just install the operating system, you've got web services automatically available. You have to install it as a module type thing. There you go, module. So web services are managed by an add-on module called an HTTP, and that's daemon. That's pronounced that as daemon. I don't know why they call it that, but that's a Linux word. When you install things on Linux, they're called daemons. I don't know why. Instead, and Windows are called services, and Linux are called daemons for some reason or other. Maybe because they frighten the life out of you, and you've terrifying dreams through the night, them coming and haunting you in your sleep, giving you night terrors. Various web server solutions available. So Abyss web server is free, right? So this is what you're going to do later. So you'll Google and see if you can find a web server solution. As I say, Abyss is free. It's got lots of features in it as well. It does CGI and all that kind of business. Internet Information Services, or IIS, this is Windows native server, but Windows will also run this, obviously, and it will even run Apache, which is the next one. That's a Unix native one. So if you've got a Linux or Unix server, you'll be running Apache. If you've got Windows, you're going to be running IIS, or you can download some other web server software and run that instead if you wished. It's up to you. And there are loads and loads of different alternatives available for you. Oh, don't need that. So first of all, web server software, Apache. Widespread use 70%. Yeah, I said all that. The latest version, that may have changed slightly. That was last year. The latest version was 2.4.18. And it's got a number of new features. And every time they do a new release, it's got new features in it, obviously. And if you want to check it out and download it, you can. So that's the link to download it. Or if you take off the download part and just do apache.org, you can go and read a wee bit about it in there if you wanted. Runs on Unix, and look at this, it runs on Windows platforms as well. So you can do things to your Windows. There's a Windows version of Apache, but it doesn't just install and run. Oh, no. It's a nightmare to get it to run. I was designing a website for my wife's nursery, and I used a program called WAMP. I can't remember what that stands for. And this is a Unix-based system, or an Apache-based system, sorry, designed for running in Linux. But there's a Windows package, so you run it in Windows, and you go, great, that's it set up. Didn't work. So you had to do all these mad configurations to change it around. Still didn't work. Oh, you need Service Pack 2. All right, download, install that. Still didn't work. Oh, you need this .NET next thing. Still didn't work. Now you need this next .NET type thing, and that still didn't work. Then the next thing, and then it would work. They took the name from Maxwell's Daemon and imagined a being from a thought experiment that comes out. Is that right? Aye. So the name Daemon is an imaginary being from a thought experiment that constantly works in the background. Well, there you go. I've learned something. Is it, see about technical people, they think they're really cool with stuff like that, don't they? It's like, let's create a program. A programming language, what we call it? Let's call it Java. Well, why did you do that? Because we're all drinking coffee and it was called Java, so they called it Java and thought, oh, that's really cool. Stupid people. And see, the thing is as well, the error messages with Linux. I installed Linux one time, and instead, like, Windows will come and say there's been an exception occurred at memory location such and such. Windows is now shutting down, something like that. And that's vague enough as it is. Linux come up and says a murder has been committed at. I was like, what? So this is obviously people think they're being funny. It's like these guys are just eating pizzas all night in a dark room wearing anoraks, programming computers, and they think they're being funny. Maybe they're being funny to each other, but who knows? Anyway, what was I saying before I went on a rant? WAMP. So I've installed WAMP, and I use that as my web server software. It was actually very good in the end. I wonder if I've still got that running. Let's have a quick look and see if I've still got it running. I'll show you this. No, I've reinstalled Windows and I forgot. I didn't reinstall it. I'm scared to reinstall it because I need to go through that pain again. Anyway, yeah, I've uninstalled it. Well, I didn't uninstall it. I just deleted my Windows installation. What was I saying? Yeah, so Apache, just like Linux, is also open source, so you can configure it, customize it to your own needs, and then share it as a new distribution if you wanted. You unzip it to a Unix server configured from the command line, so black screens and white writing type thing. Yeah, so if you're inexperienced, that's a pretty daunting concept. When I was setting this up, when I used to teach Linux, there was a few bits and pieces missing from the Linux virtual machine that I used to give to people, so that they didn't need to install it. They just had a version for themselves, and there was bits and there was like Telnet was missing. It needed Telnet so you could remotely access it. So you had to go online and find the correct version of Telnet, download it, install it, and then extract it from the command line. And it wasn't easy to do. End up, I had to write a wee manual to remind myself so that the next time it came along, I would be able to do it, which I don't know what I've done with it. Installing Apache on Windows Server is also an equally daunting prospect. So you run the Apache daemon on there, you've got to do all that. It's all command line. And what's this? What's that going to take installing? Oh yeah, install it on Windows. So yeah, I've already told you about WAMP. Maybe somebody can tell me what WAMP stands for. Web Server Software, IIS this time. Internet Information Services is what it stands for. Comes free with products, server products and pro versions of Windows. So if you don't have the pro versions, you don't get it. You used to could download it, but I think Microsoft put a stop to that. So if you've only got like Home Edition or something like that, you won't be able to run IIS. Or you will be able to run it, but you won't be able to download it. You won't be able to get a hold of it. You could use another alternative like WAMP, for example, or you could use that Abyss web server. Free with Vista Ultimate, Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. Integrates well with Windows Server platforms, obviously, because it's a Windows product. So it makes it the choice for Windows-centric organization. So if everything in your organization is Windows, then why would you go install Apache? That wouldn't make any sense. You just install the web server that's designed for the network that you're using. Easy to install and configure. So wizard-based, so it's simple stuff. Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Aye, that's right. See, Windows, Apache, MySQL or SQL, and PHP. I don't think PHP stands for anything. Hosts a number of internet server applications, such as FTP, mail, and web. So if you install the IIS program or service onto your Windows thing, you can configure your server as an FTP server, a mail server, but what we're interested in is configuring it as a web server. Latest version also includes ASP, which we'll talk about in a future PowerPoint, which stands for Active Server Page. Active Server Page, and that gives your website dynamic functionality. So what it does tells you here, creates powerful, complex websites, combining a number of different technologies such as HTML, ActiveX, VB scripting, that kind of thing. So if, for example, what we did this at university, a wee bit of this, and if you were a car dealer, right, so you've got 10 cars, now let's say you've got 50 cars, so you create 50 web pages for each car, right, and then you link them all together, right, and then somebody buys that car, So that means that link's still going to be there, and that link is still going to be there to go back to that car. And possibly there'll be links in every single page, to access that particular model. So what do you need to do? You need to go in and take out the link from all those pages, take that away, and take the links out, right? Now that's a lot of work. Every time you sell a car, or if you buy a new car, sorry, if you bring in a new car for sale, then you need to add that to your website, and then change all the links in all these pages as well. And that's hellish. It still works, but it's hellish. Now with something like ASP, what you can do is you create one page. Here it is, right? And you link that one page to a database. So in the database, you'll put in the make, the model, the price, the colour, for the ladies, of course. So if Liam wants to buy a car, he'll be like, oh, red ones, please. And whatever other thing, maybe the make and model of the year, right? So you put all that detail in, and somebody comes on here and they say, yeah, I want to buy a Ford Cougar, right? So they'll click on, they'll type in drop down box Ford Cougar, and then what happens is the website will go to the database, take out all of the Ford Cougars and everything, and then we'll build a web page on the fly and post all that information there for you. And then when you click one of the links, it'll build another web page to show you that specific car. These are called dynamic web pages. And so if somebody sells a car, just take it out of the database, and that's it. That's all you need to do. Somebody brings in a new car for sale, just put a record in the database. That's all you have to do. None of us editing all the links and stuff like that, you see. So that's the beauty of ASP, active server pages. That's the difference that it makes. Instead of this flat structure, it does a dynamic structure. You won't be learning how to do that, don't worry. What's this? Oh yeah, and also it runs back-end servers as well. So just what I just explained there, a database system is what back-end servers do. So like say, if you've got running any business that, let's say an insurance business, and you've got all the records, the name and address and details of a client and their car, make, model, registration, that'll all go into a database. When they register for insurance, they'll fill it in online, fill in all the boxes, it's stored in that database. And then the next time they log in, the details are taken from the database and the page is built especially for them with all their stuff in it. And then they can edit it, change the car, change the registration number or whatever, and it comes back up with a price for them, all that kind of stuff. So that's what's the back end means, web database type stuff. And how to install it, go to control panel, Windows features. I think it's add remove programs, then Windows features, and look, there it is there. So you just put a wee tick in the box and that'll install all of those, but you don't need that. But you do want that, and you do want that, and you can click the wee plus symbol down here and break it down and choose even more specific with your choices as well if you wished. Any questions? Would something like this be okay for the website? These are, don't know, to click it. Is this a download? And these running Windows, do they requirement? Oh yeah, Windows XP to Windows 10, yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, you don't even need a powerful machine to run that. Yeah, that would be fine. But what I'm going to suggest to you that when you're doing this assessment, you're going to do it all on Windows. You're not going to do it on anything else. I mean, if you want to take the challenge, then hats off to you, but you don't have to. Okay, you don't have to. I'll tell you what you're going to do next. So yeah, I'll just do this right now. So next thing for you to do is using Google, find an alternative to those two web server solutions for something other than those two, like those ones that Alex just suggested there in the chat, possibly, or the one that I mentioned. What was it again? Abyss web server, ABYSS web server. Have a look at the different features, how much it costs, the features, what it provides, the platforms that it supports. So what operating system will it run on? And the pros and cons. It's good for this, but it's not so great for that. And if you write a wee paragraph about that, 50 words, no more, and store it somewhere, that'll come in handy for when you do your assessment, you do your report. So that's you getting a wee bit of a head start on it by doing that. Let's see if I've got a web server running or a server running that I can just show you how to install the web server software. Give you a quick look at it. Virtual PCs. Been a wee while since I've looked at any virtual PCs. I can't find any. Virtual. No, I don't have one. I've not installed it, that's what it is. Nah, I don't have one. In fact, let me just run that. Let's just sort of laugh and see if it works. What? Failed to open a session for Windows Virtual PC. Get stuffed, man. Honestly, it works one day and it doesn't work the next day for absolutely no reason. No reason. Oh, look, it's working. It's a different one. I think this is Windows 7 Professional, so that would allow me to install the web server software, I think. Cherokee web server. I wonder what this fascination is with Linux. Apaches and Cherokees. Comanche, I wonder all that stuff. Red Indian names for their... I wonder if they still get away with that now, that it's not something like cultural appropriation now. Oh, you can't call it Apache. Oh, my stomach. Oh, password, what would that be? That didn't work. Try again. Right, let's go to the control panel. I'd remove programs, is it in this? No, programs and features, is it? No, check here, no, programs and features. Here we are. Turn Windows features on and off up here. And let's have a quick look. No, it doesn't run it. It's not on here. Oh, there it is. Internet Information Services. It is here. So if I expand it down, and we'll install that and click OK. There's an old Windows 7 machine. You could do your assessment on that. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I meant to tell you. On the, excuse me, if you go back to, now where is it? HND. There. In the HND folder, there's a server virtual machine with no Active Directory on it, and you can use that for this. So you can download a copy of that, and yeah, and if you're going to download a copy of this, what to do is create a folder on your computer and then just copy these individually into the folder, rather than if you just copy over the folder like this, you just drag that over onto your desktop or whatever, it'll copy it over as a zip file, which, I mean, if you're happy with working with zip files, that's absolutely fine, but I like to do it individually so it's already zipped, just in case there's a problem. Right, is that done then? So let me see if that's done. That was awful quick. What am I looking for now? Gosh, it's been too long, isn't it? What do you call it? Admin tools. Internet Information Services, there we go. Oh, look, this is a new version I've got in here. Wow. This is the new version. So this is what IIS looks like. Oh, very nice. This is version 7, I think. Oh, well. Default document. So we'll show you what that means. So that'll be like the first file that it looks for when it loads. Authentication. So that'll be creating accounts so that people can access secure areas of the website. You can configure which error pages are served up, what they look like when they're served up, the login part that I mentioned. Let's have a quick look at this again. Aye. So the first page that this would load would be default.htm. And if you want it to be index.htm, you just move it up to the top like that. So that's the first page it'll look for. What else? Content view, sites. There's a default website there. So you click on it and all the configuration options appear on the right hand side here. Okay. It's actually already running. And I'll just show you what it looks like. So if you open up a browser and type in the IP address you put in the IP address to the PC, or you can just do 127.0.0.1. Maybe numlock needs to be on 127. Oh, there you are. .0.0.1. And there's a website. So that's what it looks like. See that? Fantastic, isn't it? And the website structure. So if I close that, open up this, go to the C drive. There's a C drive. Computer. C drive. And you see a new folder has been created called INETPub, Internet Publications. Open that. www.root. So that's the website runs in there. And there it's there. So this IIS start is the first page that was loaded. And then there's that splash screen that you saw is that welcome. It's just that image. That's it. So what you will do is you will delete that, although I won't delete it just now, but inside www.root, right click, new folder, and we'll call it my site 1, right? And then I'll take that, I'll take a copy of that and put it in there. Copy here. What? And I copy that in there. Just check that worked. Yep, so there are the two there. I have a quick look at this IIS start. So if I right click that and open with Notepad, I'll be able to see the code. There's the coding. So let's see if I can change something in here. Body text. ID equals container. IIS. I'll do hello. This is my website. And I'll put it inside a /H1 header. That didn't work. H1. H1. Save that. Save. Yes, I want to replace it. Oh. Access is denied. Let's save it to something else in file, save as. call it index.htm. You don't have permissions to use this location. Why don't I have permissions to use the location? Anyway, I'm not going to let this beat me. Save as. All files. Index.htm, and I'll save it to the desktop. I'm getting the mad allergies now. Close this. And then I'll copy it in there, see if that works. Continue. Now let me do that. Weird. Right, okay, so that's that. So go back to here. Application pools. No, I don't want that. On features view. This is so slow. Features view, right, okay. So I want to create a new website. How do I do that again? Oh yeah, sites. Right click. Add website. Site name. Site 1. Okay, physical path. So I navigate to where I just created that file. C drive. inetpub. www root. And my site 1. Okay, that's the folder where it's contained. Now I'm going to change the port number because it'd be a clash. No, I'll leave it in port 80 and I'll just IP address unassigned, don't bother with that. See the host name. Okay, click OK. My headphones disconnected for some reason. Hopefully they'll reconnect. So if anybody's talking to me, I won't be able to hear you. What I was doing there? Oh, aye. So now that I'm inside this site, my site 1, I'm going to go to default website and I'm going to stop that so there's not a clash because they're both running in port 80. Go to my site and I'll start it like that. So it started. And then what was I going to do? Oh, yeah, I need to go and change the document type, right? So features view, default document here, double click. And I'm going to index.htm is already set, so that's good. In fact, I can just remove all these other ones now. Don't need them. Just to tidy it all up. Okay, so that's that, and that should work. So if I go to Chrome, same thing, 127.0.0.1. Yeah, hello, this is my website, see? And there's the thing. There you go, how cool was that? That's the sort of thing you'll be doing. It's that easy. And then once you've done that, of course, once you've done that, you go back into IIS, wherever it is. You create, see that website I just created, you create 3 of those. set the default. Other things will.
John, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if anyone else can.